Welcome to another video in this series of Better Riding. Today we're going to talk about group riding. There's lots to talk about. I'm joined by Saffron from MCN, so let's get on with it.
So Giles, what are the risks associated with group riding?
Before we start, can I just say, I enjoy group riding. We all do. You know, one of the great joys of biking is meeting up, 4 or 5 of you going out for a nice ride together. So I don't want this video to come across as a nanny state killjoy, but there's risks with group riding. I think one of the first risks to talk about is inexperience within the group, a mix of experience, shall we say, and an inexperienced rider being dragged out of his comfort zone, probably migrating to the back of the group and then being sort of sucked into a pace that he's not familiar with, not happy with, and he ends up taking risks himself to keep up with more experienced bikers.
So how can we mitigate that?
I think a lot of it is down to the responsibility of the group jointly and the responsibility of the rider that's leading the pace. I go for a group ride. I've got a bunch of buddies where I live and we often meet up and, you know, we go for a good ride. It's good fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm often up the front dictating the pace. When I'm super aware if somebody new joins the group. We've got a little WhatsApp group and sometimes somebody say, oh, you know, I've got my buddy, he's joining. So I'm very aware, how's your standard of riding? How long have you been riding? If I'm going to dictate the pace, I'm thinking about that rider as well. It's my responsibility sort of that the group is safe. And if I go off like a greyhound out the blocks, then what am I doing within the group? What am I dictating within the group? How's the feel of the group at the back? A lot of that is down to me if I'm leading the ride. One of the conversations you should be having is probably, what's the route? Where are we going? You might have riders that don't know where they're going, so they're relying on following the rider in front. And if the rider in front is riding at a pace that they're not comfortable with, they're sort of drawn into keeping up because they don't know where they're going. I'm not saying have a set of rules. I am saying amongst you all know collectively sort of what you're going to be doing as you ride as a group.
So what about numbers? Is there like an amount of people that you should have in a group?
There's nothing wrong with going out with, 20 riders in a group, but just accept that there will be a specific sort of feel to that ride, and it's very likely to be a bit of a parade, a relative potter, because you've got 20 bikes to manage. Personally, that's not for me. That doesn't float my boat, I'm afraid. I'd rather ride with 4 friends and make the ride a little bit more dynamic, but it's easier to manage because there's only 4 of us, not 20. But think about the size of the group that you're in. Do you all stay together? Do you go into subgroups? Overtaking. Within the group, talk about, are you going to overtake one another within the group or not? Picture the scene where you might have 2 different standard riders. One is in front, sort of being more cautious with his overtake of the vehicle in front, a rider behind getting frustrated, deciding that he will overtake the bike and the car, and just as he does it, the bike in front decides to overtake the car as well. That is a very classic scenario of a group of bikers sort of getting it wrong and having an incident on the road because maybe there wasn't this sort of internal discipline of overtaking one another as they're riding along.
So what are the other risks associated with overtaking as a group?
So look, the classic scenario is 4 guys on sports bikes out for a spirited ride and an accident happens whilst they're overtaking traffic. It's a classic. I speak to you with years and years of experience as a police motorcyclist. The number of accidents you would go to where rider 1, rider 2 are overtaking a vehicle, rider 3 and rider 4 blindly follow. So, all the training that I got in the police, one of the big things with overtaking was always being able to identify your return. So it's not just about, out and go, it's also where are you coming back? It's the rider at the back that often can't see that. So, they don't want to lose their mates. They're up for it, their egos and their adrenaline, and their mates are in front, and off you go, and you're at the back and you follow. The guys in front, they've probably identified there's a little gap there between the traffic, and they're pulling into it. So they filled it. There's nowhere for you to go. You've blindly followed. You haven't thought about your return. Now you're being faced with oncoming traffic and nowhere to go. That is a classic. So really what I'm trying to say is, if you're at the back of the group and they're all overtaking, do you know where you're coming back in? Because if you don't know, then don't go.
So does that link in with the whole reading the road thing and not the bike in front?
Definitely. Picture your scene that you're rider number 4 and there are 3 bikes in front of you. So firstly, it's quite difficult to actually see, limit points, scanning, all the things we've spoken about before about reading the road, bend assessment. That might not be as easy because you've got 3 or 4 of your friends in front of you. The other thing is, we've been talking about vision in some of the early videos and how your eyes can just be little magnets to distractions. It's really easy to let your vision drop and you start looking at the bike in front of you. So again, I don't want to harp on about my years in the police, but pursuits were a regular thing. You're chasing the burglar in this stolen car and he's going for it. You, the cop on your bike or in the car, it would be very easy to stick your eyes on the back of the vehicle that you're pursuing. That guy's doing massive speed coming into the roundabout, into the bend. If you're here on the back of him, you're drawn into the same problem at the same sort of speed that he's doing. So if you're in a group and you're at the back, be really aware of, can you still read the road? Are you being distracted by the bikes in front? And worse still, are your eyes just on your buddy in front and you're totally oblivious to that 90-degree right-hand bend that's coming up because you're here and you're not doing that?
So what's the solution to that?
So are you on the right line or are you giving up the right line for safety because you want to ride a little bit closer to your friend, but you don't want to tailgate him and you don't want to go into the back of him or something like that? You could drop back and be much further back from your friend and you're on the right line. If you want to ride with your friend, well, are you going to ride in his wheel tracks, in his number plate? That's risky. Come to a junction, you go into the back of him or something. Should you be riding offset so that you're a little bit closer, but you're safer? If you are doing that, now you may be going into your right-hand bends on a much tighter radius because you're not in the right place on the road going into your right-hand bend, for an example. Right line, wrong line, too close, too far. Those are the risks. Are you thinking about that as you're riding along?
So what are the symptoms if we're not really doing our group riding correctly?
It's back to those, are you having more moments in a group ride than you would on your own? How is your mindset when you're in the group compared to when you're on your own? Are you suffering from a bit of red mist when you're in the group compared to when you're on your own? Are you feeling pressurized into keeping up? And afterwards you're thinking, I felt really uncomfortable there. It's that feeling, that gut feeling that if that's happening, that's not a good thing. So one of the things I've got to sort of work out with what I want from my day, with my ride with my friends, is do I ride with them and enjoy that, or do I drop back? At what point do we sort of ride in this formation, which might be a bit sort of formulaic, if you like, but I'm with them, that's good fun. And at what point do I sort of drop back and pick my own line? So things to think about would be right line, wrong line, good line, bad line, and how close I am to my friends in front. So on this tight radius, well, I now feel that I'm quite close to my buddy in front. I sort of run the risk of going into the back of him. I don't like that so much because I want to be offset a little bit. But if I go offset, well, then I won't be on the right line. So how do I play that? Would it be better if I dropped back a little bit? So it might be that you wax and wane your sort of riding in a bit of formation, and it might be that you ride together, you drop back. How do you play it? What are you going to do when you ride with your friends? So if I ride offset, I'm on a much tighter radius on this bend than my buddy in front, who's got a much wider radius. He's got a better view around that left-hand bend than me. He's got a wider radius around that bend than me. So was I right to ride with him, or should I have dropped back? So maybe in these national speed limit country lanes, maybe the right thing to do is to not try and have a fancy formation, but actually to spread out, be on your own line. So I feel much more comfortable now looking further down the road. I'm not right up with my buddy in front. I can pick my own line, and I can actually see a lot more than when I've got a little formation in front of me. So the formation might be good in town, might be good keeping together so that we all get through the lights, junctions, things like that. But on these national speed limit roads, maybe the right thing to do is to spread it all out and do your own line. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video on group riding. Join us again for another video when, as always, we'll look at another topic of good riding.